Why do you think that is?
Who's the most overrated?
Yeah,
if
who
you could
should've-
change it?
I mean, the guy we just had a 10-minute segment on about his defense. I mean, it's Rudy, man.
It's Rudy.
It's pretty clear.
He should be
You can't
one.
be a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year and get played off the floor.
Former, man.
Former.
Not like 30 years ago, Lou.
What, this was a year ago.
This changes year to year.
The thing is,
bro.
when he won the award, the same thing was happening in the same year.
I'm not trying to gaslight you.
So over the past couple of years, one of the biggest conversations around the NBA has been Rudy Gobert and how he just does not deserve those 4 Defensive Player of the Years that he has. And it really confuses me because these are coaches, these are NBA players, these are guys who are constantly bringing up Rudy Gobert's impact on the defensive side of the ball, and they just say it's non-existent, and they say they use the defensive side for him to be played off the floor. And what kills me about it is these have been the 2 best playoff runs that Rudy Gobert could have put on defensively. Last year, he had a fantastic playoff run defensively against the Mavericks, the Suns, and the Denver Nuggets. And this season so far, he's been fantastic through 3 games against the Los Angeles Lakers. And there's been possessions in both playoff runs where Rudy Gobert is completely taking away possessions from opposing teams, whether it's at the rim or it's in space. I don't know if you guys watched my last video talking about the breakdown of the Lakers versus Timberwolves in Game 2, but Luka Doncic shot 25% from the field when trying to attack Rudy Gobert in isolation. And I'm so tired of the narrative around Rudy Gobert, like you saw earlier in this video, being that he gets played off the floor defensively. He's never been played off the floor defensively. It's never happened. It's because of the offense. And I just think it's extremely important to say, if he's getting played off the floor defensively, why are you bringing in somebody off the bench in Naz Reid who is nowhere near his impact defensively? Every time Rudy Gobert gets subbed out of the game, it's not for a player that's better than him defensively. It's for a player that's way better than him offensively. So if Rudy Gobert is getting played off the floor defensively, why isn't there somebody that's a plus or one of the better defensive players in the league getting subbed in for him? When he comes off the floor, it's 9 times out of 10 is for a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, a guy like Naz Reid, or maybe even a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so the Timberwolves can run small and have a more offensive heavy type of team. Now, just to put a little bit of context on here, Luka did have a serious stomach issue in this game, so some of his burst and some of his ball handling was a little bit affected in this game, but for them to still be trying to take advantage of Rudy Gobert in space, which just has not worked as much, I think this is something that definitely has to be switched within the scheme of the offense. And this is something that also kind of halted them later in the game in the 4th quarter when they were trying to go band for band with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So here we can see Luka's still trying to take advantage of Rudy Gobert in space. He takes it to the top of the key. He sizes him up. Rudy Gobert does a really good job of staying in front of him. Rudy Gobert does not bite on the fake drive and step back 3. He puts his hands out, he pokes the ball away, and it's a turnover. Jaden McDaniels gets the ball in transition, and it's going to end up being an and 1. Things of that nature. And here's another possession last year in the first round of the playoffs where the Minnesota Timberwolves swept the Phoenix Suns. They tried to take advantage of Rudy Gobert in space as much as they possibly could. You're going to see Jusuf Nurkic right here really try and defend a Rudy Gobert and get Rudy Gobert in space. So if we take a look, Katie's going to come off a screen, and Jusuf Nurkic is going to screen Karl Anthony Towns and hold him just a little bit so they can get the switch on Rudy Gobert. And Kevin Durant is not the ball handler and driver that he once was. He does not have the speed or the ball handle to really take advantage of a Rudy Gobert. They're around the same size, and Rudy Gobert moves his feet really well to really try and contain this shot from Kevin Durant. If we take a look, Kevin Durant's going to drive. He doesn't necessarily get the best angle. Rudy Gobert makes a good contest, and he misses the layup. Here's another possession where Kevin Durant is just not the ball handler or doesn't have the quickest edge on Rudy Gobert in space, but yet somehow they're going to try it again. They're going to try and score on Rudy Gobert in space once again, even though it just does not work like a lot of teams would want it to. So once again, Kevin Durant, isolation on Rudy Gobert. The whole side is cleared out. They cleared out the whole side. Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Jusuf Nurkic, Bradley Beal, they cleared out the whole side. They're like, look, we're going to take advantage of Rudy Gobert in space, and we're going to see what happens. So Kevin Durant tries to get the lane. He tries to cross back over. Rudy Gobert's not falling for none of that shit. And he contests a really good shot and makes it a miss. Rudy Gobert has been phenomenal. He's been great in space, and he's one of the best defenders this generation has ever seen, and we're just not going to give him the respect. And in the 7-year stretch between 2017, 2018 to 2023, 2024, Rudy Gobert has led 4 top 3 defenses and 6 top 10 defenses altogether. And we're not even going to talk about the amount of perimeter defenders that the Utah Jazz had. The Utah Jazz were running lineups of Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, all in the same starting lineup, to where Rudy Gobert had to clean up a lot of those messes. Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell with the size disadvantage, and Joe Ingles just being completely slow on his feet. Here they go again. Here they go again, trying to attack Rudy Gobert in space. Let's look at what Devin Booker does. Let's just sit back and let's watch what Rudy Gobert does against Devin Booker in space. He's going to hold the ball. He's going to take it out to the perimeter. They're clearing out. Bradley Beal's clearing out. Houston Nurkic is clearing out. They're clearly trying to make a drive to the rim. And Devin Booker just settles for a tough shot. Rudy Gobert puts a really good contest on it. Rims out. It's not a good possession. And this goes back to how people look at offense and how they look at defense. You can ask people how they think of a player defensively, and you can truly tell how much they understand the game. So it really confuses me why we hear players, former coaches, active players talk about Rudy Gobert in this light like he just does not deserve these defensive player of the years. You can say maybe he does not deserve 4, but to say he doesn't deserve 1, that's just ridiculous. There have been multiple playoff series where Rudy Gobert has completely shut down the opposing team, possession after possession after possession after possession, and nobody talks about it because it's defense. Nobody talks about how Rudy Gobert is shutting down opposing teams and changing the impact of these series. And it's the fact that he averages 12 points and 11 rebounds. He's not giving you 18 and 12. He's not giving you 20 and 13. He's not giving you 25 and 12. That's why nobody talks about the output of Rudy Gobert defensively, because defensive stats and defensive metrics are much harder to find. People can't run to box scores and talk about Rudy Gobert's impact because you have to actually watch the games to see how impactful Rudy Gobert is on the defensive side. And one of the reasons why the Minnesota Timberwolves were able to get to the Western Conference Finals last year and are up 2-1 on the Los Angeles Lakers is because these teams cannot attack Rudy Gobert the way that you would like them to. One of the best drop coverage bigs the league has ever seen, one of the best rim protectors the league has ever seen, and one of the most underrated defenders in space the league has ever seen. And I think a lot of this has to do with era, because centers are asked to do a lot more defensively today than they are asked to do back in the 90s. And I completely understand why some of Rudy Gobert's limitations can be put on the forefront, because if you're guarding Luka Doncic in space with the game on the line, there's going to be times where Luka Doncic scores on you. But I promise you, if Rudy Gobert was drafted in 2002 and he had the prime that he had from 2006 to 2010, it'd be much different. If Rudy Gobert played in the late 90s, it would be much different, because he would be looked at as one of the greatest defenders the league has ever seen. And he already is that, but people don't look at him that way. So my complete analysis on Rudy Gobert is he's one of the greatest defenders the league has ever seen. He's one of the most underrated and one of the most unappreciated defensive legends the league has ever seen. And the fact that we're playing in such a talented offensive era of basketball, it's not going to be talked about. Because when we look at some of the best defenders in the NBA, they're able to really put some numbers up offensively, and that helps their case. We look at Anthony Davis, who can be a number 1 on the championship team. We look at Evan Mobley, Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama. These guys have fantastic offensive seasons. Bam Adebayo was one of the most versatile defenders the league has ever seen, and he's put up numbers in the finals as well against the Denver Nuggets, and people look at him as a great defensive player. And even Draymond Green, he's won 4 championships as the defensive anchor for the Golden State Warriors. And I promise you, if Draymond Green played for the Blazers, nobody would be able to point out what Draymond Green does so good defensively. And hopefully Rudy Gobert has that moment where he retires and he's gone from the NBA and people really recognize how good he was defensively, because right now it's just not going to happen. And also, I saw SGA get more Defensive Player of the Year votes than Rudy Gobert did, and that leads me to think he's probably not going to be on the all-defensive team, and just because of the reputation alone. And he's probably not going to win another Defensive Player of the Year either. He's probably not going to come close. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you turn on your post notifications. I'm going to be posting more and more every day, and I appreciate everybody showing love to this channel, and we're going to keep growing. We just hit 1,500 subscribers, so I appreciate that as well. And if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Peace!